Hey, hope you guys are doing well. I'm in the garage here with the Beamer. I just wanted to talk about weddings. Okay, I obviously getting married is a big decision, but when you think about weddings, you know, very expensive. The average wedding in the United States, I was blown away by this, is like $29,000. So basically 30 grand to get married. Now, I'm not against people having a wedding or getting married. I think for the right person, it's a good decision to get married. But when you're spending that much money on one day, $30,000 for one day, I don't know if you can justify that. Again, it goes back to my new car theory. If you have a bunch of money, then it doesn't matter because you can buy a new car and it doesn't really impact your finances. I almost feel the same way about a wedding. If you have to finance your wedding or you have to, if I know a lot of the parents, maybe it's the bride's family. I don't even know how it works nowadays, but I know maybe the parents are supposed to pay for it. I would feel kind of bad, depending on my parents or someone else's parents, to pay for a wedding, which is like a one-time, one thing. It's one day and then it's gone. Now I know a lot of people, it's like very sentimental and they want to have a special day where they can bring all their friends and have a memory and pictures, and you can capture the whole thing, and it's just a special experience, an event. I get all that, right? But $30,000 that's gone in one day. And all this stuff is very expensive. Like there's a whole industry around wedding planning, and you talk about stuff that you just never thought you'd even have to pay for is part of the thing. The invitations, the cake, the food, the type of plates you're going to use, the type of pens you're going to have, the type of cards, the type of the venue you're going to have to rent, the dress, okay, all the people that are involved, like the bridesmaids or the best man and all the groomsmen, their clothes they're going to wear. There's so many like costs that I guess as a guy, maybe women are a little bit better at understanding all the costs that go into it. But the flowers and the vases and the glasses and the silverware and everything has like, it's something you have to look at and decide what you're gonna do. And a lot of times, like, geez, I didn't even think that was something we had to look at. And so the costs really add up, and a lot of people spend a lot more than 30 grand on a wedding. Maybe they're spending 50 or even $100,000. It's not unheard of. If you get a big venue, you have a lot of people, they're all eating, there's alcohol involved, so you have to have like an open bar. You could easily be into $40, $50, $60,000, depending on where you go and the venue you get. You can also just get married down at the courthouse, or sign a legal document for maybe $100, $200. So both things, again, I get why some people would want to have a wedding because it's a special day. You can have pictures, all your friends can be there and everything. But I think if you can't really financially afford it, then maybe you can have a wedding, but just try to keep the cost lower. Maybe don't invite a ton of people. You can maybe make your own food. You don't have to have very specific clothing that everyone has to wear. You don't have to have fancy flowers or invitations or wreaths or all these special adders that really don't do anything. The way I see it, having a nice wedding or a cheap wedding, or I guess an expensive wedding or a cheap wedding, isn't going to change how I feel about my partner, right? Or it shouldn't. So you wake up the next day, it's like, if you had a really good wedding, does that make you feel any better about the person you're with? It shouldn't. You're still going to like them or love them the same amount as if you had a cheap wedding. So in my mind, it's like, hey, I don't mind having maybe a nicer wedding, but let's try to keep the cost reasonable. We don't need to pay for all these things that really don't matter. And it's only if you have a bunch of people that want to be there. If you're kind of person that keeps to yourself and has not a huge family, you know, you don't need to have more than maybe 10 people there, 10 or 20 people, maybe. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the times, if I were asked if I wanted to go to someone's wedding, I'd say like 95% of the time I'd say no, because I just don't keep a close group of people that I even would want to go to their wedding. You know, I think I've only been to like 2 weddings in my life, and one of them I was like 5 years old. So, I don't know. You guys let me know what you think on it. I think the costs are ridiculously high. You can spend a ton of money on getting married. It doesn't change anything, right? I mean, the divorce rate is still 50%. So whether you had a nice wedding or a cheap wedding, it doesn't really change anything. And the only difference is you're going to be, you know, $30,000 poorer the day after you get married. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to say that, you know, I do understand why people would want to have, a nice traditional wedding, but I think you have to look at the cost of that and say, you know, does this really make sense? Am I really going to feel so much better about having a really expensive wedding or having kind of a minimal wedding and still having, you know, a good time? So you guys let me know what you think. You can comment, you can subscribe for more. I appreciate it. I'm going to maybe take this motorcycle out tonight, and we'll see you on the next one.